Hello, everybody, and welcome to the National League Natter with not necessarily a new voice, but quite an old voice of the show. I'm Lauren, and I'm joined with Aaron as per usual. If you are new to listening to us, hi, I'm Lauren. I've been gone for 6 weeks now, something ridiculous. But I'm back, ready for game week number 12. I've been gallivanting everywhere at the moment. Finally back from my hiatus away from just everything in America. And now I'm back to talk some football in the National League.
Many people might argue that this is definitely the OG lineup on Natter, but people might argue this is also the best lineup on Natter. But I don't know whether I can do Chris dirty like that, so I'll keep my opinions on that to myself. But it is wonderful to have you back, of course. I guess you haven't. I guess this is kind of like a bedding you back in quite easily, because I'd imagine you haven't been keeping too much of a close eye on the National League where you've been away. But the one thing you have been keeping a close eye on and you want to mention is how big the gap is now between me and you in Predictions League. Right? How are you feeling about that?
Yeah. I mean, I've appreciated that I've been able to, be away. And I've appreciated Chris taking up most of my predictions for the past few weeks. However, I'm not necessarily loving the scoreline at the moment. And the gap is continuing to get bigger. So hopefully me coming back, I can do my own predictions. Maybe I can close this gap. And hopefully we can get...
It's like I can almost hear the buzz of the tattoo gun as we're speaking right now. I can almost hear it in my head. I'm not going to lie.
Well, you've got to be thinking of this design then if you think you're going to win so much. Have you got a design already in mind?
I might have a few ideas, but I'm not going to give anything away too much. You know what I mean?
No, fine.
Nobody likes an early celebrator.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, what's the word? The forfeit for losing the Prediction League this season is a tattoo designed by our other host. So currently, Aaron is very confident that I will end up getting a tattoo of his design.
Yes.
I am hoping that I win so that I don't have to have my first tattoo designed by you. But we'll see. We'll see.
Anyway, enough of that, because we'll get to it very shortly in the podcast. Shall we quickly review? Obviously, there was a Tuesday night game week, and we know we love a Tuesday night game week on this podcast. So shall we quickly review the big talking points of Tuesday night and look at a few of the key fixtures?
Let's do it.
And I think it's fair to say, whether I'm an Oldham fan or not, the place to start for this game week was probably the Oldham Forest Green game. Me and Chris marked it on the preview as like definitely the tie of the round, and we were talking, coming into that, Forest Green was second, and we were in the playoffs, and we thought, it'd be a good game, and look, it was a very, very good game of football by two very good sides this season. Like, Forest Green, I still maintain, are probably the strongest outfit we'll see at Boundary Park all season. The way they passed the ball around was magnificent. But our sort of ability to soak up the pressure and defend really well and counter-attack really well is such an exciting prospect this season. And Mike Fondop is currently on absolute fire, Lauren. I don't know whether you've seen it much in the news, but basically for the last two games, his dad's come over from Cameroon for the first time ever to watch him play professional football in England for the first time ever. And he came for Saturday against Yeovil, and he scored the winner, Mikey. And then he stayed for the Tuesday night against Forest Green, and Mikey scored the winner again. And not just a winner, by the way. I don't know whether you've seen it, but I actually don't think it's too far away saying that it's probably one of the goals of the season so far. Norwood has headed it on. Mikey's took it on his chest, and without it bouncing, he's bullied it into the bottom corner. So that was in the 12th minute of the game, and you're thinking, there's going to be a response here from Forest Green. But our defensive Effort was unbelievable. We put the bodies on the line when we needed to. We limited Forest Green to chances. I don't actually remember Matt Hudson making a save. And yeah, we were well deserving of our win, and now that's 3 wins on the spin, 1 defeat in 11, and we're well in the playoffs now. We've got a nice little 3 point gap there between us, and yeah, I'm happy. I don't think you can get much of a better start to a season than we have, to be fair. I mean, I know we've drawn the 5 games, but now we've also won 5 games as well, so it's very comfortable. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that and whether you've been keeping an eye on it, but in terms of where we were last year and how we fell away a little bit, we definitely look like we've got a bit more fire in our bellies this year, don't
Yeah, I mean, you can't complain about, 5 wins. You do have to keep an eye on your draws because drawing too
we?
many like that is the killer of teams in
Hmm.
the end. But 1 point's better than none, and losing one at the start of the season, 11 games in now, is pretty decent. I think you'll be happy with that. It's a good place to be. I think at this point in the game in the
I don't,
season.
I don't know whether you've seen it as well. Just to finish up on that specific game before we move on to some others, the Forest Green manager had some of the most monumental head loss you've ever seen in a post-match interview, to the point where he was like a spoilt child in a playground. Like he genuinely. There's a phrase, sour grapes, and then this was a different level. He couldn't bear give any credit to Oldham. He
Oh,
said that they
really?
were dominated the game. He said the ref was shit, pretty much. Every like variable that could have gone against Forest Green, instead of giving Oldham a little bit of credit for shutting them out, went against Forest Green. And for somebody's experiences, the Forest Green manager, I was a bit disappointed. But obviously, I know it's going to hurt a little bit when they've only lost 1 game up until that point themselves as well. They started really well, so it's such a big sort of it could be a big sort of season definer for both teams, even though we're only 12 games in. I think when you get 2 teams like that are expected to be in the right end, it's always going to hurt the one that comes off the losing side, I guess. But yeah, so that was the Oldham Forest Green game, probably the tie of the round. And then also on Tuesday night um, we had so York maintaining their fantastic start to the season with a very impressive 3-0 away win against Solihull Moors. Now, from what I've seen of this, York were very comfortable for their lead, and it could have been 4 or 5 on another day. In terms of Solihull now, I think we are, 11 games in, and if you're looking at this table, Lauren, Solihull Moors are all the way down in 15th. They've only won 4 games and they've lost 5 already.
Mm.
And I don't know whether it's because we've just been so used to seeing Solihull in the playoffs and bottle it, or whether this is kind of like the hangover to that. But it's not the start that the Moors fans would be wanting, really, is it? And I think they need to. I don't know. They need to pick themselves up and pick themselves up quickly. Otherwise, soon, maybe in 3-4 games time, the gap between where they are and the 7th place onwards might become a bit unattainable, even this early in.
Yeah, it's definitely a surprise seeing them there, at least to me, especially with me being out of the loop with it all for a while and coming back into it. I think a lot of people, myself included, expected them to be higher at this point in the season. Um, but yeah, I mean, you do have to wonder at what point does that 7th become a bit unattainable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting, and obviously, like they say, don't they, really, in football, you probably look at a table properly from like 14, 15, 16 games in. So there's a couple of the weeks maybe before Solihull more fans have to worry about that gap. But I do think it's just a surprise to see them. But in terms of York, I mean, we did plenty of talk last season and certainly early on this season about how good the squad is. It's just a case of whether the ownership can sort itself out and kind of resist the temptation of getting involved on the football side of things, and they should fly. And look, it looks like that's happening for now. An absolutely outstanding start for York, and they've got some of the best counter-attacking forwards and pace we've seen in this division. With the likes of Tyrese Sinclair and Leno John Lewis, like just to name a few. And I think it's a surprise to see them as high as they are, but I definitely don't think it's a surprise to see them in the playoff places, because I think the squad is more than good enough. But look, what one defeat in 11 games, 7 wins already, is a phenomenal start, isn't it, for York?
Yeah, I mean, they are only second literally because of, like, they're on the same goal difference as, Barnet as well, so they are, like, as much drawn for first as you possibly can when it just then comes down to goals
Mhm.
for. Um, but I mean, that's a great place to be, obviously. You're literally at the top of the league. Um, but yeah, we have mentioned previously that it is a strong squad. And yeah, at this point in the season, you've got to be happy, surely. And it's just a
Yeah.
great form. Like, you look at the last games, um, 5 wins and a draw. It's not bad, is it?
No, it's pretty ridiculous, to be fair, and they're probably one of the teams that I think most teams in this division will go to, York, and they'll be thinking it's a tough place to go. Whereas last season you went to York and you're thinking there's that much drama off the field, maybe you can catch the players cold a little bit. Whereas I think that
Mm.
sort of mentality has gone a little bit, and it makes them a scary prospect. Just to finish, well, 2 more games to finish on our little preview. I wanted to touch upon Tamworth first and foremost, and their perfect result on Tuesday night against Fylde. Now, the reason why I say this is a perfect result is because of the manner it happened. So Tamworth actually went 1-0 up in this game. And then who else scores goals for Fylde, Lauren? It was obviously going to be Nick Haughton, wasn't it? Of course it was. He scored a penalty on the 66th minute. I think he scored 7 goals now, I think. Something crazy like that. 7 goals in 12 games for a team in the bottom 4 is ridiculous. But that just shows the level that he's at. But Tamworth weren't to be denied. And in terms of an away performance and getting the 3 points, to do it from a long throw in the 96th minute of play is, to me, that is National League heritage, isn't it? And I think it's about time we give Tamworth some credit, because we look at this league table now, straight in the division, straight in the deep end. We said on the preview, are they going to have enough, to compete, to survive? Not only are they surviving, they're starting to slowly thrive now. They've got 4 wins in the last 6 games, Lauren, and they've only played 10 games as well. So their current record at the minute is 10 games played, 4 games won, 2 games drawn, 4 games lost, with 11 goals scored and 17 goals conceded. In terms of a team that is just the sort of mandate, if you would, will be just to sort of maybe even not survive, maybe just compete for survival. They are well sort of exceeding that sort of expectation at the minute, aren't they?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you like I it's a great position to be in. Like we were saying, they're on 14 points, the same way that some other teams that you wouldn't expect to be are, like Southend and Solihull. I think they're going to be really happy with that, especially because they've got a game in hand. We
Yeah.
all know that points on the table matter, simple as. But with 10 games, you've got to be happy with 14 points, no? Especially with a team that's just come into the league, getting used to it all. I would be really happy with that
I,
personally.
I think it's a phenomenal start for Tamworth, to be fair, and I think they've shown, if you can be a bit brave in this division and not get overwhelmed, you can pick teams off in this division. I mean, we did a whole campaign together last year talking about how this division seems to be crazy and anyone can beat anyone. And I think Tamworth have realised that quite early and thought, you know what, we're not going to be shrinking violets in this division. We're actually going to stand strong with our chests out and give people games. And like we were just talking about with York for other reasons, again, I don't think Tamworth is going to be an easy place to go. But yeah, perfect start for them. And then just to touch upon, obviously, Fylde, like I said, I keep looking at their squad, and we said it last season. Something has to change and change quickly, doesn't it? There, I think they got rid of Chris Beach and brought in an brought in a new manager. And for some reason, it's not. He got off to a good start in his opening game, but since then it's not really clicked. And if I'm being honest, the talent in that Fylde squad, you know, with the likes of Nick Haughton, John Eustabe, just to name a few. They're underperforming now consistently, and I really fear for Fylde. I wonder whether this is a season that they do go down. And the one thing I will say, and controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway, I think if Fylde are down in the bottom four and adrift come the end of January, I think they might look at cashing in on Nick Haughton, because he will have offers to get into the AFL even at 28, 29 years old. That's how good he is. But in terms of Fylde, for the way they've started, it's been nothing but poor, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, I
Obviously,
mean,
they are out of the relegation zone as we speak, but you know they are not out of the woods at all, really, if we look at that league table.
no, and I mean you can't be having literally the league's highest like top scorer and still be on the same points as the people in the relegation zone. Like something's going wrong there. Like you can't have a player that strong and still be struggling that much.
I think to me I wonder what his like mentality is, because it's almost like it was almost like James Norwood at periods the last season with Oldham. When you know you've got somebody of that quality playing with you, you must look at your defenders and think, fucking help me out here, boys. You know what I mean? You know I'll get you a goal or 2 goals a game in some aspects, but just be a bit tighter, be a bit smarter. You know what I mean? It'd be really frustrating for me. And I'm not saying football's a one-man team or anything like that, but it's proving at the minute that maybe Fylde isn't the Nick Haughton team, and I think he must be like ripping his hair out at the minute at the situation there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the final little bit of the preview we will touch upon is obviously Gateshead getting back to winning ways on Tuesday night after two quite surprising back-to-back defeats. Me and Chris talked about how it's probably the first time at this division where, you know, Rob Elliott and his men have actually struggled and actually had to dig themselves out of a hole. Obviously, the first game of that little mini, I'm going to call it mini slide, because that's what it was. It was a mini slide. But 7-1 away to Dagenham and Redbridge is a phenomenal result for the Daggers, like we spoke about, but a catastrophic result for Rob Elliott's men. And then he said they needed a response, but to go and get that response against Forest Green was always going to be difficult. And they lost that game as well, and you're thinking, Jesus, do Gateshead need to maybe have a plan B, change up a little bit tactically? Are people starting to clock on? You know, like what's the crack? But they probably got a comfortable fixture, if we're being honest, to get a win. No disrespect to Boston, by the way, but I think most people that cover this division would expect Gateshead, even in a mini slide, to dispatch Boston, if I'm being completely honest. And they managed that quite comfortably, quite professionally, and got back onto the winning tracks. But how important do you think that result is for Gateshead in terms of arresting that mini slide and getting back on track to where they want to be?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's hard to come back from a 7-1 defeat. And then to, you know, not come back the next match. I think getting themselves back on a winning form, I mean, I guess we'll see this weekend whether they can keep that up. But getting back onto that form is vital. So yeah, getting that win on Tuesday, a 2-0, getting a solid couple of goals in, vital.
Nice. So, I think even though Chris is probably pulling his hair out talking about Barnet going on a 4-game spin, again, I expect them to beat Wealdstone, if I'm being completely honest. I'm probably making a lot of enemies on this, your first podcast back, but I'm just seeing it how I say it, you know me. So, yes, Barnet have won 4 in a row, but they've also played teams in the last couple of weeks that I would expect them to win quite comfortably if they have the aspirations where they want to be. So I think that kind of draws us in quite nicely to the end of our preview part. Sorry, to the end of our review part of the preview, if that makes sense. So shall we finally get on to what people are probably here for and look ahead to the Saturday fixtures?
We should indeed.
So, what I will do to start us off, Lauren, I will just read top to bottom of what we have got coming up on Saturday, and then we will look at a few key talking points. Give you your first game of the week back. Are you excited to be back doing a game of the week?
I'm so excited for Loz's game of the week. I've missed it.
Just so we're clear, by the way, there's no obviously review of Chris's game of the week last week, partly because Chris isn't here, and being brutally honest, I've completely forgot what game I gave Chris last week. So, and I don't want to put the extra pressure on making Lauren do a match report like on the spot when she's not been here. So we're going to bring that feature back next week. So this week it's having a little bit of a rest, but everything else is here. So having said that, so we're looking at the fixtures for Saturday, the 28th of September. Top to bottom, we go away with Barnet versus Fylde. We have Boston versus Maidenhead, Dagenham and Redbridge versus Solihull Moors, Forest Green Rovers versus Hartlepool, Halifax versus Wealdstone, Rochdale versus Braintree, Southend versus Gateshead, another big game for Gateshead. Tamworth versus Altrincham, Woking versus Sutton, Yeovil versus Aldershot, York versus Eastleigh. That's a huge game as well. And then in the half five on the zone, it is Ebbsfleet United versus Oldham Athletic. So, Warren, considering it's your first podcast back, straight away on that list, give me 2 or 3 fixtures and reasonings of any ones that are immediately popping out to you.
Okay. So obviously you've got the York and Eastleigh game, 2 teams right at the top of the league that you're expecting to, put up a good fight. York can go top. And Eastleigh will be wanting to keep themselves in that 7th. I mean, they can't go down from 7th, but they want to cement themselves in the playoff spot. So I think that that's a big game. I think you've got who else have we got that's quite a big one? Like you say, that Southend Gateshead game as well, I think is quite an important one. We've just talked about how important it was Gateshead getting back in a sort of better form, and they'll want to keep that up. So I think that will be another game that's quite important, especially Southend. With where they are, you probably expect them to be in a slightly better place than where they are. I mean, they're in 13th, right? And a lot of the teams in this division are currently on the same points. I mean, you've got 4 teams on 20, 3 on 16, 4 on 14. So you've got a lot on similar points, but
yeah, it's still quite a tight table, isn't it?
It is at the moment, actually. Probably tighter than some people would expect. Although we are only 11 games in as well.
Yeah.
So we're still at the starting quarter of the. Are we in the starting quarter? Roughly.
So
we just passed it.
What is there? 40?
There's
we should know that.
24 teams in the league, so each team will play 46 games.
Yeah,
so,
that's right. Good maths.
Yeah, so we're just about to hit the quarter of the way through the season.
Yeah.
So we're still early on. But I think that's another big game.
I think for me as well, you are looking at the likes of, if Steve Cottrell was so disappointed and so hard done by against getting beat by a very, very good defensive unit in Oldham on Tuesday night. I think their response going to Hartlepool, at home to Hartlepool, I should say, even though the Pools haven't probably started as strong as they want to do, I think that isn't an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. So I think that one sticks out to me, definitely. I also think you've got the likes of, like you say, York versus Eastleigh. I think Eastleigh will want to give themselves a good account again. I think Halifax versus Wealdstone, obviously. Halifax have been as inconsistent as anyone can be, really, if we're being completely brutally honest. You've got Tamworth versus Altrincham, who, even though Alty got a big win this weekend, if I'm being honest, I think Tamworth fans might be going to that game and thinking, we could get another 3 points here, because Alty definitely aren't the side they were last season without Chris Clark. There's no doubt about that. We've said that multiple times on this podcast. And the points total and the record so far has proven that. So I think that's one to look out for. And then, obviously, for obvious reasons, in terms of, the bottom club against a very, very informed team in the division at the minute, but also for multiple reasons. So the fact that it's a TV game, the fact that traditionally last year Oldham got done by teams they probably should be beating, like the bottom 4 teams and stuff. So I think if we come away from that game with a comfortable win, I'd start believing that this year could be our year and we could be on for something special, because it'd be typical Latics to go and lose that game in front of the TV cameras on Saturday. So I think they're the main ones that are sticking out to me for sure. But having said that, and given our reasonings, before I give you your first game of the week back for next week, do you want to pick a joint? Do you want to throw any mentions in for a joint game of the week for us to discuss next week?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've discussed all of the games which stick out, which, to be fair, are almost all of them, because, as we always say, this league is full of exciting ties because every team brings something different, and every game is pretty unpredictable. I do like the look of the Southend Gateshead game, or the York Eastleigh game, or, to be fair, yeah, I don't know. What do you think for our tie of the week?
I think, if I'm being honest, the tie of the week, if I was looking at this as a neutral, without any ties in the division, I would give the tie of the week York Eastleigh personally.
Okay.
But yeah, I just think the momentum that York are building and the momentum that Eastleigh have had in this season in periods, it should be a very, very good footballing fixture, and I think that's one that should excite the neutrals.
Yeah.
So maybe we should lock that in.
I agree. Let's lock that in as the joint tie of the week.
Amazing. So then I get the honour and the duty and the privilege of giving you a game of the week for your first one back. So I'm gonna be quite nice. I think I'm not gonna be overly nice, because I could like make it comfortable for you and give you the TV fixture, but I think that is probably a little bit too nice. And you know me, I like to keep you on your toes, if I'm being honest.
You've got to give me some work. I said you've got to give me some work.
So we will go with what do I think you would like? Considering you touched upon it before, and I think you give good reasons for it, would you like to focus on Southend versus Gateshead for me?
Yes, I will take Southend versus Gateshead.
Perfect. So we get that. Sorry, go on.
No, so I was just gonna say, next week then you'll get a little rundown of the game, you'll get my little report, and you'll also get my ref report.
Yes.
And hopefully I will have my red and yellow cards with me.
Oh my God, I've missed it.
Because I will be at home next week. So I should have everything with me, so we can have a proper nice ref.
We do say this very loosely, to be honest, because Lauren, she never really knows where she's going to be. If she's currently in Bangor right now. She's not even at home. She's back in the UK, but you're not at home, are you? So anything could happen between now and a week.
Yeah, but at some point I will have a stable location to record these, probably in 2 weeks' time. But so far, I think this season alone, I've had 4 or 5 different recording spaces. So,
yeah, that's great. And you've only done 4 or 5 podcasts.
I know, yeah. I'm pretty sure I've had a different location every single one I've done.
That's crazy. Jet set Lauren, that's what we'll go on you on the podcast. But we are up to the half-hour mark. So I think now is probably the perfect time for us to cut away for a couple of minutes, get ready to do the juicy prediction, the first predictions league back. And in the meantime, you can listen to the people that help make this podcast a reality. So we will be back in a couple of minutes and you can listen to our wonderful sponsors. And just like that, we are back. And this episode is probably going to be a little bit more streamlined this week, especially considering we didn't have a Lozzie's Game of the Week to cover. So without further ado, shall we get into everyone's favourite part of the podcast, Lauren? And are you ready to get your hands back on predictions?
Yes, I cannot wait. I need to take my own future into my own hands.
I've been saying this to
My
Chris
own
for
life.
weeks. I've been saying this to Chris for weeks. This will like you always wind me up that I have a big ego when it comes to predictions all the time anyway, but nothing will shatter my ego more if I've built up this lead and it's because everyone else has been doing it for you and then you come and you just wipe the lead out in a couple of weeks. I will be devastated.
Well, to be fair, like the gap has got bigger, and we will talk about that. But in theory, I could do it in 1 week. If I got some really good predictions and you had some horrendous ones, it could be
See,
down
but
in a week.
now, if we're being honest, we could just start playing horrible games against each other. Because I already know the gap. We both know the gap before we explain the gap to the audience. So I know what I need to do to maintain that gap by the way we score it. So I could just start being the worst bastard ever and just start trying to play tactically just to keep myself in a head for as long as I can do. But I'm an honest man and I won't ever do that. I won't ever do
Tactical
that.
predictions.
That's it, tactical predictions. Listen, I don't want a tattoo from you. You'd end up getting a Stockport County badge on me somewhere. So, without further ado, then, do you want to give the listeners a recap of last week's predictions and how we are at the gap where we are?
Yes, let's do that. So, first of all, can I just say that we are still horrendous at doing predictions? Like,
Yes.
so bad. So, in theory, each game you can get up to 3 points, right? So, in theory, there's what? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33. There's 36 points on offer each game week, or at least there is if we have a full, set of games. And you managed, to be fair, you managed to get exactly a third of them last week.
I'll take that.
So
I'll take it.
yeah,
It's all about building the points now. I've established the gap and I've just got to try and keep building it. It doesn't matter how I build it. Because at the end of the day, if I'm looking back in May and I beat you by 1 point, that will be the sweetest victory in my entire life. So it doesn't matter how we do it, it's just about doing it, you know?
That's true. And you did manage to average a point a game, which isn't bad, It's not too bad.
It's just what I do, you know.
But yes, so last time, obviously Chris was doing my predictions for me. And we finished.
I can see the resentment in your eyes every time you mention Chris's name.
No,
Listen,
honestly, Chris, I appreciate you. You're great, but you have done a shocking job at keeping me in this game. And I will be forever thankful, but also this is outrageous. We finished last game week with a 10-point gap between us. So I was on 55 points and you were on 65. Now, am I doing the full rundown where we talk with the fixtures from last week and their actual scores?
yes, you might as well.
I might as well.
It gives the full picture, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Okay. So, obviously, we do our predictions for the Saturday games. So, we had Aldershot versus York. And the final actual score was 0-0. I predicted a 2-0 win to York, and you predicted a 3-1 win to York. So no one gets any points there. 0 points so far. Boston Alti, that ended up 2-2. We both predicted an Alti win. I went 3-1 and you went 1-0. I am just saying that way, even though Chris went that way. But for the points tally,
it's your name on the graphic, Lauren. Your name and your colour. You can't put it on anyone else.
It is my name on the graphic, that's true. So there's still no points there. Braintree versus Tamworth ended in a 1-0 win to Tamworth. And we both predicted that would be a 1-1 draw, so there's still no points there. We're already doing pretty shocking. Eastleigh Rochdale ended in a 4-2 win to Eastleigh. I went for a 1-1 draw between the two teams, and you went for a 2-1 win to Eastleigh. So you get 2 points there, because you went the correct way, and I did not, unfortunately. Fylde and Woking ended in a 1-1 draw. I went for a 2-0 win to Fylde. You went to a 1-0 win for Woking, so no one gets any points there. So currently you're on 2 points and I'm on none. Forest Green and Gateshead ended in a 2-0 win to Forest Green. I said that it would be a 2-0 win to Gateshead. You said it would be a 1-0 win to Forest Green. So you also get 2 points there. So you're on 4, I'm on none. It's not looking good, is it? It's not looking good. Hartlepool and Daggers. Daggers ended up winning that game 1-0. I said that it was going to be a 0-0 draw, and you said it would be a 1-1 draw. So there's no change in points there. It's 4-0 to you. Halifax and Maidenhead. Well, Maidenhead and Halifax. Halifax ends up winning 1-0. I said that Halifax would win 1-0, and you said that Halifax would win 2-0. So I get 3 points there and you get 1. So we end up 3 and 5 there. So you're on 5 points, I'm on 3. Oldham versus Yeovil ended in a 1-0 win to Oldham. I said that Yeovil were going to win 1-0, and you said that Oldham were going to win 2-1.
I feel bad for you on that specific prediction, to be fair, because even Chris on the podcast, he said he was doing that from a Barnet persuasion, whereas I know you're a little bit kinder to Oldham in your predictions sometimes. So I think you would have backed an Oldham win, knowing how you normally go against. So yeah, but I'm going to take it. I'll take it. Listen,
You'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it.
So you end up getting 2 points there. So what does that make it? 3 and 7, something like that. Then Solihull versus Southend ended in a Southend win of 4-2. I said that Solihull were going to win 2-0, and you said that Southend were going to win 2-1. So you get another 2 points there. So it was 3 and 9.
Yeah.
Sure. Sutton versus Ebbsfleet ended in a 3-2 win to Sutton. We both went 3-1 there, so we get 2 more points there. So I get 5 and you're on... We worked it out. I can tell you the final scores. My brain has gone with
yeah. Let's focus on the important one, which is the final score and the full score.
Yeah, so the Wealdstone Barnet ended up 3-0 to Barnet. I went it was a 3-1 win to Barnet, and you said that it would be a 2-1 win to Barnet. So I get 2 points there and you get 1. So in total, I get 7 points this game week, which is quite frankly truly horrendous. And you get 12 points this game week, which means that the gap has extended by another 5 points. So it ends up being that I'm on 62 points for this game week. And
no, for the season in all, not for the game week.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. For the season so far, I'm on 62 points and you're on 77. So 15 points between us at the moment, which
That means
mathematically is catchable.
for you to catch me this week, like you alluded to, you'd have to get 6 perfect scores.
Yeah.
Wow. I think I'm comfortable for a couple of weeks at least, hopefully. Touch wood. Ryan, you can clip that. If she does a madness, she does. You know what? There's half of me that thinks if she pulls it back in week number 1, maybe we should get to the tattoo shop next week.
Yeah, I doubt that I'm bringing it back in 1 week, but it is mathematically possible if I somehow pull out this genius move where I get all of them correct. Then
I'll quit the podcast, man. You think I'm joking? I'll be gone, mate.
well, I come back from America and you're immediately quitting. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm done with her. Done with her
I
already.
can't be asked for anymore.
I wouldn't blame you, honestly. Wouldn't blame you.
But anyway, before we get sidetracked, I will give you the honours. First week back, you can do your predictions first.
Okay. My predictions first. Let me get the list up of fixtures. So, it would help if I it would help if I knew where any paper and pens were in here. It's okay. I'll type it up. So, Barnet and Fylde. I'm going to say that Barnet are going to win this game. I think Fylde are having a bit of a nightmare, unfortunately. And Barnet have got a really good form at the moment, 4 wins in a row, 5 from the last 6. Fylde, we've already been talking about how they're struggling. I mean, 4 losses. It's a bit of a shocker, really. And I don't see that changing this week. I say that now, and Fylde will come out with like a 9-0 win or something stupid. But I'm going to say it's going to be a 2-0 win. 2-1.
Here we go. She's back. The flip flopper. That's what I call her, Lauren, the flip flopper.
I'm not flip flopping. I'm just, I'm giving Fylde a goal.
The thing is, there's so much pressure on you now because you actually have to try and methodically win back points. So whereas I'm the comfortable one, I can probably throw a couple of weeks and still be ahead.
Yeah. So I've actually got to, I've got to really consider my guesses. But I do think that Fylde are going to get a goal in the game, but I don't think they're going to win the game.
Okay, nice.
Is my prediction. So I'm going to give Barnet a 2-1 win there. Boston Maidenhead. 2 teams very close together in the league, 21 and 22. You're gonna get back to calling me a fence sitter, but I'm gonna call
she knows how my brain works. This is how we just know how each other work.
Yeah. Well, we know each other too well now. We've been working together too long.
That's it.
I'm gonna call it a 0-0 draw. I think.
Boring.
I know, but I think it might be just a 0-0. I know, very boring. Daggers, Solihull. I'm gonna back. You've also going to have missed me back in certain teams, and I don't know. Genuinely, I think I have reason for this. I usually back my Daggers. For those that don't know, I'm not a fan of any teams in the National League. Apart from Oldham, obviously. No, I'm joking. I don't have any ties to any club in the National League, but for some reason I do have an affinity for Daggers and the Shots. Not that I let that sway me in any way, but I will be backing my Daggers.
4-0 Dagenham and Redbridge win.
Well, yeah, but look, Daggers versus Solihull. Daggers are in a really good place.
Yes.
They're going to want to come back from a loss that they've just had. They had 3 wins back to back before then. And Solihull have just lost 2 in a row, and they're struggling at the moment. So I am going to back my Daggers, and I'm going to say that they're going to win 2-0.
Nice.
Is what I'm going to say. And I have reason, and I've justified the guess. Or the prediction, not the guess.
Well done.
Forest Green and Hartlepool. I think Forest Green are going to win this. They're going to want to come back from this loss that they've just had. You know, they're in a good spot, strong team at the moment. Forest Green are going to win this. I'm going to give them a 3-1 win, I think, Forest Green. Yeah, that's my prediction for that one. Halifax Wealdstone, I think that yikes. I was going to say that this one, I want to throw in an upset into one of my predictions, but I don't think this is going to be the one, the one that I do that for. I was hoping I could justify that in some way, but draw losses.
That's what she thinks of them. These two teams, they just come out. It's an impulse that.
Yeah, but draw, loss, draw, loss, draw. I cannot see them getting a win now. I must say,
I think she's doing it on purpose, but she's definitely stalling for time because Lauren's had some slow prediction runs in her time, and I think this is beginning to take the mix. She's not even halfway down the list yet.
Right, fine, sure. I think Halifax are going to win 1-0.
Okay.
I think. Look, I tried to justify them all, but no more justifications from me. You know. Rochdale Braintree. I'm gonna say that it's going to be a Rochdale win. 2-1 to Rochdale.
Nice.
I think that Southend Gateshead,
Your game of the week
is my Loz's game of the week. I'm going to say is going to end with a. I think Gateshead are going to do it. I think it's going to be a 2-0 Gateshead win.
Nice.
I think Tamworth Alti. I think Tamworth are going to actually keep up this hot streak, and I'm going to say that Tamworth are going to win this. You know, 3 wins in a row, make it 4, and it's going to be a 2-0. No, just a 1-0. A 1-0 Tamworth win. I think that Woking and Sutton. I think that's going to be a win for Sutton. Just a 2-1 win to Sutton.
Nice.
I think that. I'm going to go against what I usually do, and I'm going to say Yeovil are going to beat my shots.
Ooh, what got into her?
Well, I'm rushing. I'm rushing through. No, I think that my shots have. Maybe it's because I've not been predicting them wins, but they're struggling at the moment. They are struggling at the moment, and they need to turn it around. And I think they will turn it around, but not this week. And so I think Yeovil are going to win 2-0. York Eastleigh, very exciting game, big game. York are going to keep up their hot streak, and it's going to be 3-1. No, 3-2. What do I
For
think?
those that can't see the video, Lauren's face is a face of ponder. Right.
It is a face of ponder. I am thinking. York don't concede that many. 3-1.
Nice.
3-1 that is to York. And then Ebbsfleet Oldham. I'm going to say Oldham are going to win this. I'm going to be nice. First week back. Oldham are going to win this 2-0.
Nice.
And that's all my predictions. A bit
So
faster towards the end then.
we won't do your top to bottom yet. We'll do the top to bottom side by side once I've done mine, yeah?
Sounds good.
So, right, I'm going to do this a bit speedier now. So, I am going to go Barnet 3, Fylde 1.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Boston 1, Maidenhead United 1.
Okay.
I'm going to go Solihull Moors to get back on track away from home against the Daggers in a tightly contested 2-1 affair.
Okay.
I'm going to go Forest Green to win at home and get back to winning ways. 3-1 against Hartlepool. I'm going to go, again, I fully agree with you. This game just screams mediocre to me. Halifax versus Wildstone. So, I'm going to go for a very unconvincing 1-0 Halifax win. Like
you are
yourself.
a copycat, aren't you? Is this deliberate? Is this you being tactical? So I can't have that much of a difference?
Listen, that is an outrageous claim, and you're lucky, to be honest, that I don't take deep offence to that. I'm a man of honour. Rochdale versus Braintree. I can't see any unfortunate days for Rochdale. Unfortunately, I think they got back to winning ways after 2 defeats on Tuesday night, and I think they'll continue it. I think they'll continue it quite comfortably. I think this will be a 3-0 Dale home win. Southend Gateshead. Now I think this will be 1-1.
Okay.
Tamworth Alty. I actually also think Tamworth will win this game, and I think they'll win it 2-1.
Okay.
Woking Sutton. Now, do I go against the grain at the thought of upsetting Steve Morrison, even though we have a good relationship with him? Yeah, I'm gonna just so we're going opposite on a couple of fixtures. I'm gonna go 2-1 Woking.
Okay.
Yeovil Aldershot. I am gonna go 2-0 to the Shots. York Eastleigh. I am going to say. Oh, bloody hell. I'm going to say Paul McCallum is going to be firing. Chris Maguire is going to be firing. And I think Eastleigh will get back onto winning ways very impressively and continue the rise up the playoffs. And I think they will win this game 2-1.
2-1.
And then the 5:30 on TV, I think Oldham. I can't. Even if I wasn't an Oldham fan, I think it's fair to say I can't see past Oldham. I'm gonna say 3-1 away from home on TV.
3-1. Very nice. So I will give you a quick rundown of our predictions for this week's game. So the Barnet Fylde game, we've both gone for a Barnet win. I've gone for 2-1, you've gone 3-1. In the Boston United Maidenhead United games, we've both gone for draws. However, I've gone 0-0, you've gone 1-1. In the Dagenham and Redbridge versus Solihull Moors, I've gone for a 2-0 win to the Daggers, and you've gone to a 2-1 win away from home for Solihull. In the Forest Green and Hartlepool game, we've both agreed on a 3-1 win for Forest Green. In the Halifax versus Wealdstone game, we've also both agreed that it's going to be a 1-0 win to Halifax. In the Rochdale game versus Braintree, we've both gone for Rochdale winning. I've gone for 2-1 and you've gone for 3-0. In the Southend Gateshead game, I've gone for a 2-0 win to Gateshead. You've gone for a 1-1 draw. In the Tamworth and Alty game, we've both gone for a Tamworth win. I've gone for 1-0. You've gone for 2-1. In the Woking versus Sutton game, I've gone for 2-1 to Sutton. You've gone for 2-1 to Woking. In the Yeovil versus the Aldershot Town, I've gone for 2-0 to Yeovil, you've gone for 2-0 to the Shots. In the York City versus Eastleigh game, I've gone 3-1 to York, you've gone 2-1 to Eastleigh. And finally, in the TV game of Ebbsfleet versus Oldham, I've gone for a 2-0 win to Oldham, and you've gone for 3-1.
Amazing. So, with that being said, how does it feel to have finally finalized your first week in 6 predictions? Are you confident? Are you happy? How do you feel looking back on them set of results?
I am confident. It took me a little while to get back in the swing of things, hence the slight slowness to my first few predictions. But I feel like I'm going to get in the swing of things. I'm confident for this week.
Amazing. Well, I personally hope your confidence is misplaced. But before I do the outro, I just want to say it is wonderful to have you back with us here. We have all missed you, and I'm sure the listeners and the viewers have missed our little dynamic duo as well. So we are back now. Neither of us are anticipating any more long-term absentees, so you'll be stuck with us for a while, I'm afraid. So yeah, we are back, and with that being said, that has been your match day number 12 preview. We have been National League Natter. I will see you on the start of next week with Chris for the match day 12 review, and me and Lauren will be back here on Friday morning, Thursday night, whenever we decide to do it, for match day number 13 preview. So yeah. So Lauren, thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure having you back.
Thank you for having me back. It's great to see you again.
And we shall see you and be with you in a week's time. Until then, see you soon.
Bye, everyone.